Okay, so Holly has requested we do number 2. Number 2 says, an early freeze in California sours the lemon crop. Sours.
Ironic.
Explain what happens to consumer surplus in the market for lemons. Okay, so the first thing we have to do is draw the lemon crop, right?
Yes.
In California. Okay, we're doing it in red.
Radical.
California lemons.
Yes.
Which curve is that?
That's N11. This one should wait. Shouldn't demand be a little bit elastic because it's pretty narrow.
Has elasticity mattered to us yet?
No.
100%.
I don't think it matters.
Not for consumer surplus. Okay, so what happens in this market? Supply did what?
Decrease.
Okay. So what do we have to do now? Find consumer surplus. Where's consumer surplus? Tell me where it is on the graph.
It's in between the price.
It's between the price and the demand. So which price? Our new price after the soured lemon crop, right? So here's our new price, and the demand curve is here. So there's our new consumer surplus. But it asks us what happens to consumer surplus. So we probably have to know what the original consumer surplus was, right? So the original consumer surplus would have been here. So consumer surplus decreased. Okay?
For lemonade.
So you illustrated with diagrams, and then you write down to write out a full statement, you would go through the whole change in demand thing. So you would say, as a result of a change in the number of sellers in the market, the quantity or the supply of lemons in California decreased, resulting in a decrease in
Equilibrium.
resulting in a decrease of consumer surplus. Because I didn't ask you about equilibrium price or quantity, right? Just resulting in a decrease in consumer surplus. Boom.
Now you gotta finish the rest of the problem. Lemonade. That's the next part of the problem.
No?
Yeah. Explain.
Because it's then right after.
Explain what
Oh,
happens to consumer
explain what happens to consumer surplus in the market for lemonade. Okay.
Draw lemonade. So change in the price of input. Decrease in cost.
So here we have the market for lemonade. What happened in the market for lemonade?
Change the price of an input.
What's the relationship between lemons and lemonade? They're inputs, so we had a change in the price of the input. What happened to the change?
Increase.
What happened to the price of the input?
Increase.
It went up, causing the supply of lemonade to
Decrease.
decrease.
So it's pretty much the exact same thing.
It's exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
You do all your lines over, you do your shading, and you write as a result of a change in the price of inputs.
Supply decrease causing a consumer surplus decrease.
So on all of these graphs, you want us to go all the way up to the price?
Yeah, you should, to keep yourself sane, you should take your curve too, because that'll be just easier for you. Okay? All right, Holly, got that? Who has another one they want to see done?
Wait, so we only just, in the statement we just talked about supply decreases really the same, but
You did not even finish.
Or said, do you want us to write the full statement, like, request the
It wouldn't hurt you to write the full statement, because sometimes I give you some points for being right to a point. Huh?
But what if that statement's wrong?
Statement's wrong, then your answer's probably gonna be wrong anyway. This is gonna be more than a 1-point question anyway, so I've got points built in there for the statement.
So what's all gonna be counted?
So how would I grade this question if it were on the test?
Yes.
So on this test, I would probably give you a point for the basic graph, a point for shifting supply in the correct way, a point for this, and a point for that, and a point for that.
So if we're only using a pencil, can we just use like shaded and then like dash lines?
Yeah, so if you're just using a pencil and that's all you get on the AP exam, what I would probably do is in my triangle, I would do this for maybe the first one, and then for the second one, I would completely fill it in.
Even though you can't see the.
Right, because you know that it's part of the first one.
That's what I did.
Mark, number 4.
Yeah, can you do like 4, 5, and 6? Because they're all related.
Okay, it's a hot day. Bert's thirsty. His first water is at 7. Second water is at
5, 5, 3, 1.
all right. So what's Bert's demand schedule?
Would this be like the stair step one? I don't know. Summertime now.
Okay.
Because it's one supply. Yeah.
Okay, so at a price of $7, how many bottles of water does Bert want?
On.
And at a price of $2 or $5 he wants,
2,
and at a price of,
3.
and at a price of 4, or a price of 1 he wants. Okay. So yeah, theoretically it's the stair step, but we don't live in a stair step kind of world, so we're just gonna do that for ourselves. My spacing was not good. Oh well. Alright. So if the price of water is $4, how many bottles of water does Bert want?
2.
Can you buy a half a bottle of water?
Get 2.
How many bottles of water does Bert want?
2.
Okay? Can you buy a half a bottle of water? Huh?
Like, I'm saying, like, would you buy the less? Like, instead of 2.5?
It's $4 a bottle. Is he gonna buy 3?
Oh,
No, that's above his curve. He has to only buy 2, because he can't buy a half bottle. That would be, hey man, you look thirsty, how about you chip in an extra $1? I'll drink half and give you the other half.
That's all I can do.
Do. Ew. Alright, so how much consumer surplus does Bert get from his purchase? So we gotta figure out Bert's actual consumer surplus here. So he bought how many bottles? He bought 2 bottles. Okay? At $4. So what's his consumer surplus?
4.
Where's the triangle?
Above. What's that? What's the top number?
Do we have to account for that small rectangle too?
No. So let's go ahead and do our jaggedy line one for you. Oh, forget it. So where's our triangle? Still right here. So because we have a jaggedy line one, we don't need to do triangle, because we can use actual numbers, right?
So should we just?
So we have 2 times 1 there, right? And we have 1 times 2 there. So consumer surplus should be,
You just overlapped.
4.
No, she didn't. I'm just done.
No, this is $2 there and a quantity of 1.
Yep.
This is $1 there
Yep.
and a quantity of 2.
So should we just do the stair step in the first?
If it's giving you numbers that way, I suppose
like
so.
in the schedule.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think that I have any questions like that on the test. I haven't got the test back from downtown yet. Let's see what the book says is the answer to this one. We're right. We're gonna refer to a higher power.
That is hope.
Yeah.
That is right.
Yeah, Bert's consumer surplus is $4. You can do it easier than this too. You can do this. Bert only bought 2 bottles of water, right? He bought 1 for $4 and he valued it at 7. So what's his surplus? And he bought 1 for $4, but he valued it at 5. So his surplus is. So his total surplus is. Okay? All right, so the price falls to $2. How does consumer surplus change? Well, now consumer surplus, price is $2. How many bottles does he buy? Buys 3 bottles. So there's your consumer surplus. So for the $3 bottle, he valued it at $3. He paid 2, so his surplus is, for the $2 or for the second bottle, he valued it at $5. He paid 2, so his surplus is, for this one, he valued it at 7. He paid, his surplus is.
So is that saying like if you wanted to buy 1 bottle of water, he's willing to pay $7 for it?
Yep.
And $2 he's willing to pay 4 or 5, sorry.
For his first bottle, he's willing to pay 7. For his second bottle, he's willing to pay 5.
And then decrease.
Why does his willingness to pay decrease?
If you wanna have some.
He's not as thirsty. Not as desperate. Okay, so his total surplus, total consumer surplus should be 9. Survey says we're right. Okay. So now we gotta do the supply side of this, right? And is this Ernie? Yep. Ernie owns our pump. He's willing to supply the first bottle of water for $1, the next one for, next one for, next one for. All right. So the first bottle of water he'll supply for $1. Second bottle of water he'll supply for $3. Third bottle of water for $5. Fourth bottle of water for $7. Okay? So it's the same thing the other way around. What?
We're not with him.
Okay. Price of a bottle of water is $4. What is Ernie's producer surplus? Where do we? Aiden, am I interrupting your social media life?
No.
For taking creepy pictures of Q or Hayden or Noah or whoever?
It was Andrew.
Oh, creepy pics over your shoulder between the computers? No wonder it took you so long.
It's going to be pretty good. But not.
Yeah, it was gonna be pretty good, but yeah, you know what? Not failing the quiz tomorrow is probably slightly more important. Okay, so Aiden, tell us, where do we shade to get consumer surplus?
Wouldn't it be above the line?
Above which line? There's multiple lines on
Well,
this.
when you drew it.
We're gonna shade above the green line to get consumer or producer surplus.
Oh, no.
Below where? Over here? Over here? Everywhere? Where do I shade below to get producer surplus? The price of a bottle of water is $4. What is Ernie's producer surplus? So over here? Over here.
On the left.
So if I shade here. What do you say, folks?
No, we're doing survey says.
They say no. Where do you say?
Above the line to the right underneath. Like above the $4 line.
So Davis says over here.
They're not willing to sell it at the cost.
You have to go from 3 over, like the 3 price over to 2 in that area.
Yeah, no.
He's only gonna sell 2 bottles.
No, the blue doesn't.
Yeah,
It's
the blue.
They'll stop selling. Why would you sell?
Davis, you're wrong.
They
No,
don't want the cost of
it's just wrong. Okay.
I think, what Jared's saying is right, cause you stop, cause they only sell 2 water bottles, so
Yep.
it has to stop at the 2.
So Aiden, you were also wrong,
But you have
but you were closer. So here's our $4 price. Can we sell at $3.50? Because Ernie's only willing to sell this third bottle for $5. So does he sell this bottle?
No.
So our consumer surplus has to stop here, but it goes clear up to the $4. So in the stair-step method, the easy way to do this is to say, okay, sold the first bottle for $4, but he was willing to sell it for $1, so his surplus is $3. Sold the second bottle for $4, but he was willing to sell it for $3, so his surplus is, so his total surplus is. See how very, very easy that is? What?
Will you walk us through it? It's way easier.
Well, sure.
Can you walk us through his house?
Let's have
No.
a class test.
Can we go ahead and skip to 5? Or skip to
That is fun.
6? Sorry. We go ahead and skip to 6? Since this is the same as 4, only the other. Okay.
Number 6 kind of combines it.
Yes. All right.
I really hate the university. Big bird. Because I just cracked it. Contractually, it's just the count. Yeah, but it's just the count.
Are you gonna give us grabs so we can drop ourselves?
Like I said, I can't remember exactly what I put on the test.
It'll be kind of difficult.
You draw your own.
I don't want to watch it.
No. For some reason I feel like that's hilarious.
What was that big O?
They cross each other.
Bye.
Yo.
Alright. What's the quantity supplied and quantity demanded at 2, at 4, and at 6? What's quantity demanded at $2?
Quantity demanded $2 is 1. No, 3. 3. Trace.
At $2.
Trace. Bottles are 1. Demanded. Yes. 3 bottles. When? Yeah, and then instantly said, wait, 3. Instantly. Like, this is my next breath.
Okay. Demand curve. At $2, how many will I buy?
3.
Why do you say that?
Because he was willing to buy at 7
I'm
and
willing
5.
to buy, or willing to pay $3 for my third one.
Yeah.
At $2 supply curve, how many am I willing to supply? At $2.
1.
1. At $4, how many am I willing to buy?
2. No, 2.
2, because I'll pay 5 for the second one. At $4, how many am I willing to supply?
2.
I'm only willing to supply the third one for $5.
2.
So 2. At $6, how many will I buy? Just that one. At $6, how many will I supply?
3.
Just that one. Okay. So where do we get equilibrium?
4.
We get equilibrium at $4. Okay. So what are consumer surplus, producer surplus, and total surplus. So here's what I'm gonna tell you to do. At a price of 2, at a price of 4, I'm willing to buy 2. Okay, at this price. So here's where I am. My my consumer surplus here is. My consumer surplus here is. I paid 4. So my consumer surplus is. So. Got it? See how I'm working this all out? CS equals 4.
CS.
So my producer surplus at $4. So I'm still here. So I'm willing to supply my first bottle. Willing to supply my, oh, I shouldn't have drawn that from supply. Sorry. My bad. So I'm willing to supply my first bottle for $1. I supply it for 4, so my my producer surplus for the first bottle is, and my producer surplus for the second bottle, which I'm willing to supply at 3 and I sell for 4, is. So my producer surplus equals 4. So my total surplus is 8. Okay. So if they both produced and consumed 1 fewer bottle. So if Bert only consumed 1 and Ernie only supplied 1, what would happen to total surplus? Well, I guess we're going to leave the price at 4. We'll leave the price at 4 and say Bert only consumes 1 bottle. So his consumer surplus is 3. And Ernie only produces 1 bottle, which he was willing to do for $1. Sells it for 4. His producer surplus is. So total surplus at $4 with a quantity demanded of 1 and a quantity supplied of 1. Total surplus equals 6.
Wait. Dang it. It's not what I thought.
You thought it would go down?
I thought it would increase.
It did increase. It went from, it went from 8.
To 6.
Because we lost out on that portion. Of course it decreased. We were less productive, we were less consumptive. So total surplus goes down. We moved away from equilibrium. Equilibrium was 2 and 2. We went down to 1 and 1. So total surplus is always going to decrease if you get away from equilibrium.
Would you ever have to find the surplus at like 6 when it's uneven like that?
There is no surplus at 6.
Okay, that's what I was asking.
Well, you're saying at the price of $6?
Yeah.
Is there consumer surplus at a price of $6?
$1.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah, so it'd be $1 then. So would that be 7 then?
So at a price of $6, let's change the color or make it red. All right, at a price of $6, so we're going to be on this line now. Whoa. Okay. How many bottles of water are we selling at that price? $3. So we're selling it for 6. Our surplus here is 1. Our surplus here is from 3 to 6 is, and our surplus here is 5. So our producer surplus here is 9. Consumer surplus at $6. I buy 1. I buy
1.
Wait.
That's it. Wouldn't that be it? So it'd just be the $1?
Wait, does that
because I don't buy this one.
So
Price is here. I'm only willing to buy it at 5. So I don't buy that one.
Wait. That means it increased.
I said 1.
I'm confusion.
Here's your problem.
They don't get the surplus.
I didn't sell
All the one.
this bottle or this bottle. So I only sold this one, and I only bought that one. So total surplus actually equals,
Six.
So is 8 the maximum total surplus you can get? Okay.
yeah, at
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, we
equilibrium,
learned that yesterday.
equilibrium is surplus maximizing.
Wait, did you say,
That was the last thing.
how many did you say you sold last?
At $6, I only sold one. Only this one. This one didn't sell.
Yeah, you see you bought.
That one didn't sell. So I only have that producer surplus of 5 and that consumer surplus of 1 at $6 price.
Okay.
What's the question?
You said they. I mean, you said they bought
One.
one, but so there's only.
So only one sold, only one bought.
Yeah, but that so that doesn't affect the surplus.
It does.
Did you just say it was 6?
Surplus is 6 at $6. But at $4, the surplus was 8. Surplus decreased when we got away from the equilibrium. What are you stuck on?
I'm just thinking like in the last chapter, if like there's a difference. When we were talking about taxes, if the quantity supplied was less than quantity demanded, you have to go with one or the other because you can't buy what's not being sold.
Right, so, well, but when you factor in the willingness to pay here, willing to pay $7 for the first bottle, only willing to pay $5 for the second bottle, so that second bottle never gets bought. Ernie's willing to make it, but Bert ain't willing to buy it. So we only can talk about surplus relative to that first bottle. Because you can't count producer surplus for what doesn't sell. All right, do we have time for, no, we don't. Do we? No, it's Wednesday. We have 5 more minutes?
5 more minutes.
All right. One more? What do you want? How many of you have gone to the Orange and Black book and checked this? Pretty good stuff in there, isn't it?
Like English.
Yep. Yep. The Orange and Black paperback is your friend. It's in, it's called 5 Steps.
Yeah, it's like literally.
Yeah,
it's like
it's on campus.
It's like paper. It's like 20 bro.
That sounds like that kind of stuff.
It's very nice. It likes baby steps.
By the way, those of you who are thinking of taking the exam, my absolute favorite review is the All Access review.
That whole book.
Yeah, it's micro and macro. It's excellent. My absolute favorite.
I know.
The same producer also makes a crash course version. These can be very nice. If you're going to wait to study until the very end, they can be very nice. Notice the micro one is considerably more slender than the macro. The macro is almost twice as thick. Which is why I recommend just going with this one that puts them both together all the way.
Hey, do you ever know why I get your flag? Oh. You know, what I flag was I sort of got it. Yeah.